sincerely for joining and welcome to Solidarity Speaks with the Green Olive Collective, Center for Jewish Nonviolence, Achvat Amim, All That's Left, and the Migrant, Immigrant, and Refugee Rights Alliance, an emergency webinar series giving people around the world a forum to hear directly from Palestinians about the ways their communities are being impacted by the events of the last weeks, about the ongoing violence, and about the urgent need for a permanent ceasefire and an end to the collective punishment in the West Bank and Gaza Strip. My name is Erez Bleicher, and I'm the Communications and Membership Director of the Green Olive Collective, a binational advocacy, information, and tour guiding center committed to a democratic future and an end to the ongoing displacement of Palestinians. We provide communities around the world with insights into the apartheid policies of the occupation and the resources to engage in meaningful advocacy in solidarity with Palestinians. We're joining together today and weekly through this emergency series as a global community of conscience across checkpoints, barbed wire, closed military zones, and border walls. The occupation regime does all it can to fracture Palestinian society, isolate them from each other and the world, and contain them in physical and imaginative cantons whose borders cannot be breached. We intend these weekly gatherings as a breach of those borders and an expression of solidarity, empathy, and common cause against the limits of the dominant discourse set by Biden and Netanyahu. Since October 7th, an environment of severe repression, intimidation, and censure has taken hold. In the Gaza Strip, a lethal military campaign has resumed. In Area C of the West Bank, communities face imminent expulsion from settler militias, and human rights defenders are facing severe repression for any criticism of the ongoing military campaign. Today, we are immensely grateful to have with us Basman Dawi of We Are Not Numbers, a Palestinian youth-led project that provides the world with direct access to Gazan narratives without any restrictions and without foreign intermediaries speaking on their behalf. In their own words, they share and celebrate the stories, daily personal struggles and triumphs, the tears and the laughter, and the aspirations of Palestinians that are so universal that if it were not for the context, they would immediately resonate with everyone. You can contribute to support the critical work of We Are Not Numbers at the link I am now placing in the chat. You can contribute at greenolivetours.com/contributions, and we will then donate the money directly to We Are Not Numbers. Basman, who is with us today, is a physiotherapist who has not been able to return to his home in the Al Gamal neighborhood of Gaza City since October 7th. He was attending a course in physiotherapy in Egypt with the Palestinian Ministry of Health when aggressions began. He believes in writing as a remedy and a tool for change, and is inspired by music, movies, and the stories of the differently abled. We are honored to speak with him about the events of the last weeks and about the ways the ongoing violence is impacting him, his family, and his broader community and communities. Basman, thank you sincerely for joining us on this devastating time. It takes a certain kind of courage, vulnerability, and strength to speak publicly in this time, and we don't underestimate it or take it for granted that you would speak with us and give of yourself so generously in this time. Immense thanks to you for being here. And I'll start our conversation by asking you to share more about yourself and introduce yourself more fully. What is your name? Where are you from, and where is your family from? What kinds of work, advocacy, or community organizing do you do as a resident and justice advocate in Gaza City? What is your background, and what about your past informs how you relate to the current moment? You should be able to unmute yourself. Are you here?
Do you hear me well?
I do. Welcome. Wonderful to have you.
Thank you. Everyone else. My name is Basman Dawi at the Ministry of Health in Gaza. Do you hear me?
We hear you. The connection seems a little spotty. You're breaking up some, but we do hear you.
Okay, let me try without the headphones. Is it better now?
Some better, I think. Yes.
Okay. My name is Basman Dawi. I'm a physiotherapist at the Ministry of Health in Gaza. I'm 35 years old. I live in Gaza, but I've been there in Egypt since the mid of July. I came there for a training course, and I was supposed to return back to Gaza on the 10th of October, but you know the event of the 7th of October happened, and I couldn't return back to Gaza. And I work as I also am a poet and writer at We Are Not Numbers. We Are Not Numbers is a platform for the young Palestinian in Gaza and in West Bank and also in the diaspora to just raise their voice and speak with their own language and with their own tongue. And they are advocate as well the right of Palestinians to speak their truth, to speak about their rights, to speak about their situation as well. My where are my family from? Actually, my mom is from Gaza, and my dad was from Bir Saba, Beersheba. So he's a refugee. He was a refugee. And what else do you want me to add?
A refugee in 1948.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's important. I'm sure many people on the call know, but perhaps not everyone, that I believe it's 2/3 of Gazans are refugees.
Yes. Yeah. A refugee from like 1948. Maybe their grandfather were refugee.
It's important
And
context, of course, for what's happening now and seeing people who were displaced again.
yes.
Important for people to really understand the larger context. But I guess I'd love to hear more about your work as a physiotherapist and for us to hear more about your passions. What brought you to poetry? What brought you to We Are Not Numbers? What has it meant for you to be part of We Are Not Numbers? We'd love to just hear.
Actually, my journey with We Are Not Number has been starting in 2015 after the war 2014 on Gaza. I lost a friend in that war, and I started like to, I don't know, to write about my pain, about my feelings toward the war. And I accidentally found We Are Not Number. I get in contact with them, and I start to send them a sample of my writing, and then one thing led to another, and I become a former writer and poet with We Are Not Numbers. My work as a physiotherapist, I actually love to be, since I was young, I love to be something related to the medical field. So when I finished my high school, I chose to be a physiotherapist, and I work as a physiotherapist for the Minister of Health since 2012, actually. So it's a long time,
A lot of good
and
work.
I think physiotherapy is very important in Gaza because Gaza is a place with many aggressions and wars, and there is a lot of physical trauma besides the psychological trauma, and we need to work on helping people to rehab and to get their both physically and emotionally rehab. I'm not sure if emotional rehab is very like it's very good now at Gaza because of a lot of drama is going on, and there is no place to have this kind of mental release from this trauma. But physically, I hope that I've been able at this moment and in the future to help many people as I did in the past.
I'm sure you've done a lot of good work, and I'm sure many people are lucky to have had you present for the Kul ihtiram, all respect to you. And maybe as the call goes on, I'm sure people would love to hear more about your perspective in general and in this moment as a health worker about health effects, physical and emotional, psychological, visible and invisible effects. We can go into it some now, but sure as things go on, it's also relevant, of course.
Okay, actually, the health system in Gaza was very fragile because of the blockade and the consequences of a blockade. And there is a lot of shortage in very equipment and drugs and many of things that medical field is needed, which is make it very hard. And now they they target the hospitals and they have targeted many healthcare centers. So I think the situation now is a disaster. I'm not there, but I can. But I know it's a disaster now. With many of the hospitals and the centers have been attacked. So I can imagine now, because even in 2014, the hospitals was not just the hospitals. They were like a shelter for people who are displaced from a place to place. So they were already crowded and overwhelmed, and now they are destroyed. So it's a catastrophe, I guess.
Yeah, of course, it's staggering to consider what the lack of infrastructure and the damage to infrastructure means in real
Yes.
people's lives. And of course, there are so many patients. For me, also to think about the patients who were there before, and then added to that, all that's
I
happened
mean,
since.
I have seen many videos and footages for many patients who were displaced and who were displaced walking on their feet, which is was very painful. And like I have I cried for weeks when I see these videos, actually.
Sure, in your profession and your work, and in working with people that way, and for all of us, it's so horrendous to see. But I think we might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. I guess to take it one step back and ask you if you want to share again in this conversation. Um, I want every question I ask to be an offering for you to take or steer in another direction to speak about the things that are most meaningful to you and that you wish to share. But I guess I'm curious, what was it like being in Egypt when you heard the news? And in the first 2 weeks, let's say, what was it like as things began and how things progressed? What have you experienced and seen since October? And how has this affected you and your communities?
Was preparing myself to return back. It was like the last few days for me to be in Egypt. When the 7th, I was really shocked when I saw the news. I was worried, of course, because I know always Israelis always respond in a very violent way. To somehow I feel, maybe I don't know if people will understand that, but when you live under long-lasting blockade and when you live under long-lasting circumstances, every resistive action will make you feel like you are exist again. I don't know if you understand that feeling. Like the the routinic way of life and the blockade and all these troubles in Gaza overshadow your existence. You feel like this moment you could feel like you are exist again, even though you are shocked and worried, and even though you are against killing any civilians, of course, but you feel that kind of, I don't know, re-exist, maybe.
Yeah, this is of
Yeah.
course.
So that was my feeling on the when I watched the event of October 7th, and then the aggression was started, and every day is a struggle because you need to make sure that your friends and your family are okay. You need to make sure, and most of the time, Gaza were in totally blackout, so it's hard to contact with them to make sure that they are okay. And I lost like many friends in this war. Actually, I lost around 4 friends, so it's sad. It was very sad. It was very heartful.
Yeah.
So,
Well, going back to what you said at the beginning, I think it's a very important conversation, and I can understand, of course, abstractly. I don't have the lived experience of it, but I can understand abstractly that living um, at least a majority of one's life under closure, siege, um, and barriers, and any act of resistance that challenges that barrier, feeling like it gives agency or people are acting. While at the same
yeah,
time, for me, being honest, what followed after, of course, can't be condoned. But I think it's a very important conversation there that we need to see those borders fall. And people who have lived under siege from those borders have a certain emotional reaction to seeing that they are just borders that don't have to be there, while also
yes,
recognizing the inherent value of everyone. And for me personally, condemning what occurred after the border was taken down. I'm sure many people on this call have many thoughts and reactions. And I just wanted to say that and name and hold together that that's a very rich and charged conversation. But I appreciate your speaking candidly and openly from your experience. And I guess I want to ask about the things you said later. Um, what was communication like with friends and family? And have you lived all your life in the same neighborhood in Gaza City, or are you connected to many parts of the city?
I didn't hear the last question. What I live with what?
Have you lived your whole life in one neighborhood in Gaza City, or are you connected to different neighborhoods in Gaza City?
No, I live my whole life in a Rimal neighborhood actually, but Gaza is a smaller place, so you can like I go to the middle area to visit my sister is living there, and to the north area to visit some friends. So I go there and here, but I live in my whole life in the Rimal neighborhood in Gaza, and the connection, as you asked me about the connection, it was really really bad because of the bombing. It affected the connection network, and so, and I remember I cried in the first night that they say that Gaza is in a totally blackout because I couldn't reach anyone, and I feel like there is fire in my chest, and I feel like maybe I couldn't been in touch with them the next day. Maybe they were killed in that night, and this all idea started to haunt me, and it was really, really, really a hard night. And now I can reach Gaza, but the connection is really not easy.
Yes, horrible to have that feeling of not knowing hang over you
Yeah,
so permeatingly. And I had a friend in Gaza who had electricity for half an hour a day, and you would send voice notes during that one half hour a day. It was so difficult uh, to not know, and I can only imagine. And
mm,
your family, I'm certain, hasn't stayed in Gaza City with the conditions there. If you want to share, do you want to share generally what happened to the neighborhood or where people are that you knew? People headed to the south and center, perhaps?
I mean, the Rimal neighborhood is, according to the video I see and according to what my family said, is almost not, it almost fully destroyed. There are some few buildings left, but most of the buildings were destroyed. And my family has to be displaced twice. The first time they displaced from my house at Rimal to the area south of in the south of Gaza. It's called Tal El Hawa. At my brother, at my oldest brother house with his family, and then they forced to displaced again uh, at the south of Gaza Valley, as Israeli ordered, at my sister's house, and they stay until now at my sister's house in the middle of Gaza Strip. So they experienced displacement twice, and I'm sure my family were one of the luckiest family. I can say that they have my sister's house to go to, and they displaced at the beginning of the war, so they didn't have to walk, because a lot of people have to walk all through from Gaza City to Khan Yunis to the middle area, the middle of Gaza Strip to Deir al-Balah. So they have to displace the twice. Luckily, they found a car to take them from that place to this place, and now they are staying. Alhamdulillah, they are staying at my sister's house, and supposedly this area was safe, but the Israelis actually attacked the safe zone multiple times and
Yeah.
kill many people there.
There's a lot of documentation of the refugee caravans, displaced caravans also being targeted.
So it's sadly it's a new Nakba. It's like I don't. I feel now like I don't have to ask any grandfather about the Nakba because we are living a new one.
Unfathomable to comprehend. I was going to say before that I'm so sad to hear your family had to leave their home, and I'm so happy that they had somewhere to go with your other family. Um, I guess on the note of this moment and how it's different than the past, I'm sure for those of us around the world who haven't experienced it, it's hard to understand how is this moment different or the same than the past. I believe I might be wrong, but I think there have been 5 major military campaigns since 2008 in Gaza.
Yes.
And I'm curious to hear from you if you want to share anything about how this is the same or different than the past.
I think this time is different because there is a lot of destruction, even more than the previous ones. This is the first time that they directly attack hospitals and completely destroy some of the health centers and hospitals. This is actually not the first time that some family displaced, but the displacement of million of people, I don't think that happened before. So this experience is actually it's not just a war. I think war is not a quite description for what is happening in Gaza now. And
Yeah,
it's funny that I'm 35 years old, and I live like 5 aggressions or 5 wars. And also, if I am 15 years now, I also live a 5 aggression. So if a 15 years old kid in Gaza, he will be living 5 aggression until now. So it's
and
sad
over half of
reality.
the population is under 18, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I read that 40% of homes are unlivable right now or have been destroyed. It's
Yeah.
a displacement to a degree that's
I mean,
hard to think of.
it's hard. It's hard that I don't know if my house is destroyed or not. This is one sad aspect of this time. Actually, that you don't know. You are not sure if your house is still there or if your house is destroyed. Hopefully, it's still there, but we are not sure.
Inshallah. And also, I mean, you're a health worker, you're a writer. I'm sure there are many books, your things to not know if the things you love are there. So difficult. I wanted to ask, I saw a picture of Al Gamal before and after the campaign that was
Yeah.
on on your article in We Are Not Numbers, is it okay with you if I share a screen so people can see?
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I'll share my screen
You
momentarily.
can.
This is from an article from Basman and We Are Not Numbers. And this is a picture of Al Gamal on the top in the past and today. Just so difficult to take stock of and bear witness to in whatever ways we can. How has We Are Not Numbers responded to this moment? Has there been a community of people that's been able to stay in touch and support each other through what I'm sure also for people involved in Palestine and abroad is a difficult time? I'm curious to hear.
Yes, it was a difficult time even for the writers from We Are Not Numbered that they were in Gaza at the moment of the October 7th and the war after, and it was not easy to connect with them all, but at least now we make sure that they are okay, and We Are Not Numbers not only in Gaza, so that what helped the voice to be raised, even when the people of Gaza is not who can't able to raise their voice. There are many Palestinians from outside Gaza. But actually, even We Are Not Numbered, we lose like two writers. Yusuf Dawas, he was killed at October, and Mahmoud al-Naouq, he was killed with his entire family in Deir al-Balah. And also Dr. Rifat al-Arair, he was killed at his sister house in Al-Shuja'iyya in
So
Gaza
sorry
City.
for all of your loss. I saw an interview with Ahmed Al-Nouk about everything that's
Yeah,
happened and the losses in his family.
Mahmoud,
So devastating.
Mahmoud was his brother, so and he lost his entire family.
So hard to hear. I just wanted to tell everyone on the call that I have a message that I just received in the chat from someone who I assume works with We Are Not Numbers. And she said that the mentors meet regularly to support each other and talk about ways to still get voices from Gaza out into the world. So it is amazing, even on this call, to see the community that exists, the relationships that have been built, and the platform you've all created together to amplify voices that are so important and necessary in this time, before this time, and in the future, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, We Are Not Numbers are like a family, which is they are supporting each other, and I think this is why I feel like We Are Not Numbers are not just a project for me.
yeah, so moving to here, and I'm so glad that the community and the project has been so sustaining for everyone. And really thank you for speaking about all these things and the conditions that exist so that we on this call can share with others around the world and also do what we can to amplify in solidarity. And I guess based on related to things you've said, I wanted to, and related to the work of We Are Not Numbers, for many people around the world, what is happening is, of course, abstract and abstraction, and people don't have personal relationships themselves on the ground. I guess I just wanted to ask, is there anything you think it's important for people around the world to understand that you see being left out of the conversation in media abroad? Of course, We Are Not Numbers, it exactly tries to make it so that people and lives and whole worlds that are affected aren't just numbers, that people really hear about them concretely and as real, colorful, fully dimensional people and worlds. So I'd love any thoughts.
I actually want the people to understand that it's not about the 7th of October. I know that 7th of October was maybe a huge for some people, but it's not the starting point. The starting point was in 1948 in the first Nakba. And I need people to understand this is not a conflict. It's not two equal sides. It's actually occupier and occupied. So, and I don't want people to believe me. I want people to seek the truth by themselves. So you need to educate yourself. You need to not looking at the media, but try to find the truth because uh, it's hard. I'm sorry to say, but a lot of the Western media not telling the truth actually are not telling the truth. So you need to educate yourself. And I need people to understand it's about ongoing Nakba. It's not about the 7th of October. And this is not a starting point. And the occupation is actually the problem. So this is what I need people to understand.
Yes, thank you. So important to highlight the root causes of the current situation, the current moment, and the root causes of violence and the ongoing devastation we're
Yeah, I
seeing.
mean, I even learned from my work as a physiotherapist not to look at the symptoms as I look to the root cause. So so it's now equal. I mean, every resistive action is a symptom for me for the root cause, which is the occupation.
Yeah. Well, later in the call, I want to hear more about what's the vision of justice, the vision of a possible future that motivates you or sustains you. But to begin with, before that, I guess I want to ask first, what, if anything, gives you motivation and helps you remain active and grounded in this time, if anything at all? What parts of your culture, community, family, religion sustain you in your work? And to speak out like you're doing today, it takes a lot of motivation to speak. I'm curious where that comes from and what steadfastness feels
I
like for you.
think I think seeing the people around the world uh, protesting and try to speak up about Gaza is one of the motivation, of course. I think also have that kind of faith and not necessarily religious faith, because I'm not too religious, but the point is having the faith in your freedom, in your case, in your right to live equally as any human being around the world is also a motivation for me. And reading about people, knowing about people, seeing videos from the people living, link it to my previous experience and in the previous wars also motivate me to write and to speak up about Gaza. Because we all want this to end. We all want to live a just life, a fair life, a life with equal rights as any human as in this world.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that just the certain knowledge that it's your right to live with dignity and peace, you and you collectively as Palestinians, um, is a certainty that grounds and motivates, along with seeing, yeah, connection to people and the relationships and seeing, communicating with people you're connected with. What about, I'm curious to
Mhm.
ask, what about solidarity around the world you talked about? What about that motivates or sustains your ability to imagine a different world or a different future?
I mean, for the future, uh, let's start with the solidarity. I want people to always speak about the Palestinian case because it's not about this moment. It's about the whole time. We need to be free, and we want the world to support us to be free. And I mean by the word not the government, because the government are not so cooperative, but the people are there, and the people are. This is from heart to heart, as we say. So uh, I need people to always speak about Gaza, and I want them to keep a protest because this is not about just this war or the previous war. This is about keeping this violence against and keeping this occupation against Palestinians. For the future, I think I'm not too political, but I contributed with I contributed in a book called Light in Gaza. Uh, with the American Friends Service Committee, with the
They do,
Quakers.
they do good
And
work.
yeah, my chapter in this book was about imagining Gaza in 2050 under 3 scenarios. One scenario is no state solution, and the other scenario is two-state solution, and the last scenario is one-state solution. And I'm not a huge fan of two-state solution actually, because I don't think two-state solution will give the Palestinian the equal right as the Israelis or as any other people around the world. I mean, why should I be disarmed while you have heavily armed? While I live, while should I be live in this small area while you're taking most of the land? What about the Palestinians outside Palestine in the diaspora? Or so it raises many questions. So I think the best solution, I don't want to say the best, I think the most acceptable solution that will give the Palestinian the equal right as anyone else is the one state solution. I don't have vision why that could be achieved, but this is my vision that I want a solution that give me the same right as any person around the world.
Well,
So
I
I'm
think
not,
the first thing I have to do is go buy that book as a present for the holidays, along with everyone else here for someone that I know would appreciate it. Sounds so important. And I think political imagination is so important. And I'm speaking personally now in moments like this where any vision of equality or peace or justice is so attacked. It's feeling a sense of imagination and possibility that sometimes a great casualty also in these times that we can't think of a different future. And I'm so glad to hear that you and others wrote those books and imagined and concretely thought what would equality feel and look like.
yeah, I will put it on the chat. Maybe
Thank
it
you.
will be easier.
And I guess
And
it's
I
the
think,
work of writers to
yeah,
imagine and to give people that space.
and I think it's a free to read now. So I think
Incredible. I'm excited to read it. I saw some questions in the chat just now, Basman.
okay.
You had said before that you want people to educate themselves and not from the media, the mainstream media. I agree with that. But several people messaged and asked, along with We Are Not Numbers, are there any other sources of narratives, stories, facts, analysis, reporting that you would recommend? People were curious for your thoughts.
Okay. This is one of my recommendations, the book Light in Gaza. And I think they can also listen to some, even to some Israeli historian like Ilan Alan Babe, and
Okay.
also to, yeah, and I think they can read some works of Suzanne Abul Hawa as well. So they can like go to not only read from to not only hear from the media, but also to hear from other voices, and they can just compare and match. I don't even want people to listen from Basman. I want people to start to listen from different perspectives and seek the truth by themselves.
Thank you. If you send me those names afterwards, I'll send them to people tomorrow along with the recording of this talk.
Okay, I will send you some names and I will put it on the chat. Okay.
And I can't help but asking, as a writer yourself, I'm curious, do you have any favorite Gazan writers, literature, storytellers, poets to recommend? I know I'm putting you on the spot. It's hard to think of the moment.
Mm, I love Mahmoud Darwish and I love Ghassan Kanafani. And from there is a poet called he's new, he's young, Marwan Mukhawal. There is Mus'ab Abu Toha. I don't know if you read about his work.
I haven't.
Uh,
I would love to.
okay, I love their work actually.
Amazing.
This is
Have they influenced your writing?
Hmm?
Have they influenced how you write?
Yeah, sometimes, yes. I mean, like every beautiful poem or every poem I like actually have an impact on my writing.
Of course. Well, I'm glad to be able to share
And
some of your influences with others here. But continue. You were about to say something.
so that's I think and also there is I don't know if you read some poem by Dr. Rifat al-Arairi. He was killed, but I think his words will stay like forever. You could also check some of his poems as well.
Yes, I've read some beautiful eulogies, both on We Are Not Numbers and elsewhere, about him. And I've seen his poems being shared fairly widely, I'm happy to say, at least in my circles these last days. Such beautiful, powerful poetry. And I'll send that along also. Um, I wanted to return just one more time to the question of solidarity, because I think as
Okay.
people around the world, we're here also to be in solidarity, to understand what that can mean or what that should mean in this moment. And on the very first, this is an emergency series, Solidarity Speaks. On the very first webinar of the series, we had a colleague from Gaza join, and he said something that has stayed with me that I thought was profound. He said, "The occupation is a weak system. It can't defeat feelings, the sincere feelings that we have. The one positive thing about this catastrophe is that it brings true friends together, and it is true friendship and solidarity that is sustaining my hope and my ability to resist." Uh, so I wanted to ask you also what that brings up for you. How does solidarity sustain your ability to resist? What do you see as the role of solidarity also in a global context? We have people here from all over the world. And why is it important to sustain and build solidarity in this moment or in general?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with what he said because from the militarity point of view, they are stronger than us. But the truth is always stronger. I mean the truth, and the solidarity of the people is always stronger than even the militarity issue. And I think that seeing people around the world now chanting about permanent ceasefire, chanting about giving freedom to Palestinian is really meant something to all of us Palestinian. It's really, yeah, as he said, it make a friendship regardless of what your religion. Even I really see a lot of Jews who stand for Palestine, and I really appreciate that so much. So it's not about where you are from; it's about what to stand, as I said, from heart to heart with the Palestinian people. So yeah,
Incredible. Thank you. And there was one question in the chat just now. Someone asked along those same
no, feel
lines.
free to ask.
Someone asked along those same lines, what are things that can help steer along with demonstration things, what are things in general that can help steer the future towards a better direction and not towards more of the same violence or worse? Big questions,
Again,
I know. You don't have to answer everything.
no. Again, I'm not too political, but as I said, giving equal rights is, from my point of view, giving equal rights to people is what will actually lead people to stop fighting. People around the world always fight for something and not fight for something. And the Palestinians now fight for their rights. When you give them their rights, they will stop fight actually, and they will actually live normally, and they will feel that they are like any other human around the world. So I think any solution that will guarantee to give the Palestinian their equal right as any human around the world will lead to stop fighting and will lead to live peacefully.
Yes, thank you. I guess that's why they say that when there's justice, dignity, equality, then there will be peace.
Personally, I think the one-state solution is the solution that will guarantee that. But it's only my vision. So
Yes. But political state solutions aside, I'm hearing from you that underneath all that is equality, a framework that can give
yes,
people equal rights of one kind or
yeah,
another.
equality and
That's important.
freedom is what is giving people equal rights. This is it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
I guess I have just one or two questions, and then unfortunately we're getting towards the end of today's time. But you spoke now and also earlier about state solutions and equality in a collective sense and between large communities. I guess I wanted to ask if you want to share what are your hopes for the future? What vision of justice guides you personally for your community, your neighborhood, your family? What are the principles and values that motivate you, and what is it personally that you'd like to see for the community around you on a more small scale level, if you want to share?
I mean, I hope one day I could able to live in, as I said, with equal rights. I hope to live in freedom. I mean, it's one of the sad reality of us Palestinians is that we cannot. I mean, I've never seen Bir Saba, Beersheba. I've never seen where my family came from. I've never seen the West Bank. I've never seen Jerusalem. I mean, I went before to Europe. So Europe, it was a bit easier than, which is really the irony is that Europe is easier for Palestinian to visit than his homeland or her homeland. So I think this is what we need. This is what we hope for. We hope for to live our life in in peace and freedom and equal rights, and that we can see our lands, that we can travel easily, that we don't have a very fragile health system, that we can cross easily the borders without a lot of hours of waiting and humiliating.
Yes. Well, I can't think of any better words to end this call with than those, that we can live to see and work to build a future where there's freedom of movement and dignity and equality for all.
Actually sad that we are hoping. I didn't hear you well. I'm sorry, the connection is not.
Yes, I think the connection went off for a moment. I was just saying that I can't imagine better words to end this conversation than what you're saying, that we should work to build and live to see a world and a reality here with freedom of movement, with dignity and equality for all, and where
Yes.
I can host you for a cup of coffee in Al Quds, inshallah.
Inshallah. I think it's what's supposed to be. I mean, we are hoping for what is normal, which is that.
Yeah, you know, there's an old French political slogan: "Be realistic, demand the impossible." But for me, in these last weeks, I've been feeling the opposite. Be impossible, demand the realistic. It's so possible. It's so doable that we could live with equality and freely in a shared society if people work to create it and have the will. And I hope that
Yeah.
this call and this conversation can be part of that. And we can build solidarity, build relationships, and together
Yeah,
create that future.
I hope so. And I think the first hope now is to to have like a permanent ceasefire and to stop the killing of the people and to like start to rebuild Gaza again.
Yes. Well, I'm excited to be in touch with you as that process continues. I'm curious, do you have any final thought or word you want to share to close the call before I give a few updates and our time is over for today? Any last thoughts?
Maybe I would like finish this call maybe with a poem. Can I
Yes,
do
of
that?
course.
Okay, this is a poem I wrote about one friend I lost in this war. So it's titled His Name Was Isa. His name was Isa. Isa means Jesus. My friend was neither God nor a prophet, but a rebel soul and a humorist like Jesus. When Isa laughed, everyone laughed. I think joy was his gospel. He and I sang Set Fire to the Rain together and danced widely to sway. He loved Django Unchained. Isa has no chains. Once we were sleeping at our friend Imad's house, working on our project on our graduation project. We read in high voices, close to Oda's ears, to wake him up. At one of our tashas, I pick on him for putting too much tomato sauce in the shrimp zibdiya. He ran after me and threw a pillow at me. Then we ate all the zibdiya and wiped sauce from our shins, laughing. Once he laughed at a poem I wrote about Tasha with holy grilled lamb, a huge dream dish. I can see him now, sitting in heaven, nodding and laughing. So, yeah,
Thank you for sharing that, reading it so beautifully, and for bringing
thank you.
Issa's name and memory to us. Um, May we all work to uplift him and all the others lost and create a world that honors their memory. Um, I wanted to ask, I actually, as you saw, I happened to have the poem up on my screen, so I shared screen. I didn't know you would read it, so I was glad to be able to do that. I read it earlier and I saw the word Tasha. I don't know what that means. What is that?
Is mean hanging out together.
Beautiful. Um, were you about to say something? Well,
I
then,
didn't.
thank you. I was just going to say that it's been a delight, truly, and an honor to speak with you. Thank you for making time. Thanks for all your insight and generosity. And I hope to work together and be in touch in the future.
I hope so. And thank you for having me and for your solidarity as well.
May it only grow and expand in the world.
Yeah,
I'm sending everyone now again a link to support We Are Not Numbers and the incredible work you've seen they do. And with that, unfortunately, we're out of time today. Immeasurable and overwhelming thanks to you, Basman, for joining, and thanks to each of you here who joined from around the world as we came together to express our solidarity with Basman and the people of Gaza and to hear directly from those impacted. Following our conversation today, each of you now has a personal relationship with Basman and to the Gaza Strip. We hope that we will all take what we heard today from Basman as a charge towards action in a moment in which we as an international community must do everything we can to demand a permanent ceasefire. Now is the time to write our elected officials, sign petitions, demonstrate, attend town halls, disrupt meetings, act in civil disobedience, write poems, share what we learned today with our peers, and do all we can to amplify the voices of Palestinian human rights defenders. We invite you next Wednesday for Christmas in Palestine with the Palestinian Liberation Theology Center Sabeel, which will be the final webinar of Solidarity Speaks, this emergency series. Christmas festivities are literally canceled in Palestine this year as Palestinian Christian leaders decided not to proceed with annual festivities in Bethlehem in solidarity with the people of Gaza. We will join the week before Christmas with Omar Harami of Sabeel to discuss how they draw on Christian narratives and Christmas teachings as a source of resilience in the face of military occupation. And we are overjoyed to announce that we will also be joined for a special performance by Lina Swaibi, a world-renowned singer and resident of Bethlehem, who has come to global attention for her renditions of classical Arab ballads, hymns, and popular music. I am sending now in the chat a link where you can see more information and register for the Solidarity Speaks Christmas in Palestine webinar and hear more from Palestinians on the ground. Please pass it to others in your communities and circles. Our thoughts are with all of you around the world, and especially with you, Basman, and everyone impacted by the continuing violence. We hope everyone has good and especially peaceful days, and we will see all of you soon. Much thanks.
Thank you all, and it's a pleasure to be with you tonight, and I hope we will be one day like celebrating all in a free Palestine.
Can't wait to see you there. Be safe, be well. Yeah. Talk soon. Have wonderful days, everyone.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you.